All right, here we go. We're recording. It is October 14th, and see some new faces and some welcome older faces I haven't seen for a while. Not necessarily they're older, but faces I haven't seen for a while. Shantha, good to have you back. You've been out traveling the world, huh?
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw some of your pictures on Facebook. Pretty cool stuff.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, we haven't been out doing any cruises since the pandemic days have hit, but
You should take a river cruise.
oh, I don't know if they're quite ready for me yet. I got my own cruise ship now.
I know.
Oh, cool. Well, anyway, before I hopped in here, Joe was kind of on a roll there. Was there anything you wanted to get on the recording here, Joe?
Oh yeah, because what I told them is I don't do any of the stuff you tell me. I never did any of the stuff you told me. So that's
Wait.
I hired other people to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say you're not supposed to. You're supposed to dish those jobs out.
Well, I heard what you said and I said, oh, I got to hire other. I have not, all these years, I still don't get SEO, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it, but I can't do it. It's too much time to,
Well, to be totally honest with you, I think most of you know this about me. I haven't done SEO myself in probably close to 2 decades.
Okay, I believe it.
I've got teams that do it. I only do strategy. I figure out what's working, why it's working, figure out what they need to do, and then they do all the work. I mean, I'm not a worker bee.
Don't tell anyone, but I don't do any accounting or tax returns either anymore. And
as you shouldn't. You're the expert.
I got that from you. I'm just thinking about it. You said, what if you were just marketing 100% of your time?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I'm doing. It's about 95% of my time, John.
Yeah. If you really want to make money in your business, you figure out what is the best and highest use of your time and you spend it there. And usually it's not in doing work. You are never going to find that your highest and best use of your time is doing work.
What's work?
Now I say that, and I want to kind of predicate that with a concept. I'm not against working hard. I will work hard for brief spurts to get something in place that's going to work forever. That I firmly believe in, but just creating a job for yourself so you can trade time for dollars, there's no good will ever come of that. Unless you're in a situation where it's a necessary evil. I get it. I get that does exist. It never existed for me because I wasn't allowed to have that right from the get-go. I was very different from many people in the way I was brought up. I was brought up to know the stuff. And I don't know if it was by design or by engineering. I don't know if my dad knew what he was doing, the way that he raised me and the things that he told me, but it definitely worked. And it's interesting because he, being my role model, worked every day of his life. He never had a business. He was never entrepreneurial, but he knew that was the way to go. And he instilled that in me from as far back as I can remember.
Yeah, but didn't you do that like when you were going to school? You started doing the fabrication stuff?
Oh yeah. I had many businesses before I even got out of high school.
But it sounded to me like you were working pretty hard.
Well, back then I was, but it was always in a business. It was never working for somebody for a time situation.
Okay.
IR works faster.
And I was working in manufacturing, but I was creating systems to manufacture the parts much faster than anyone else.
Okay.
So like and it was funny, in high school I would actually recruit people in my high school classes to come and work on the weekends for me, so I didn't have to work. I would teach and train them to do what I was supposed to do so I could get the job done. And I would pay them like twice or three times even what minimum wage was, but I was making 20 times what they were making. And collectively, like each one of them could be making me 10 or 20 times what they were making. And I had a half a dozen or a dozen of them doing it all at the same time. So I made a lot of money in high school. Like I made more in high school than most adults were making.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy stuff.
Did you file tax returns?
I did. Our neighbor was an accountant. He was our little local accountant, and he always did my taxes. But he never told me. He always wrote stuff off as though I was a business, but I never had an LLC or a C-Corp or an S-Corp or any of that. I'm not sure how he did it or how he got away with it, but he wrote off all my expenses.
Yeah, you don't care.
But I did. I probably paid a lot more taxes than I should have, as a teenager and into the 20s. It wasn't till I was it's probably in my 30s before I figured out I need a C-Corp.
No, that's actually good, John, because you probably paid into Social Security.
I did, yeah.
So you'll be getting another check whenever you want. Once you're 62, you can get another check.
Yeah, yeah. But when I started looking at the corporations, and I know you like S corps for most people, when I looked at them, I'm like, nah, I don't want an S corp. I want a C corp. I want the real deal. I want an actual real company that can own stuff, and so that's why I went with that one. I never looked at it as just being a one-man show.
So John, when can we invest in your C-Corp?
I don't know. As soon as we go public with it.
So John, actually, here's the thing, because you just brought up about being the C-Corp, and people are under the impression that I just like S-Corps. That's only for new business owners that aren't incorporated or being taxed as a sole proprietor. And you made me do the research to find those 25 million sole proprietors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now, and we were talking about this before, what's happening. I've just been getting more and more focused on who we should be working with, and we figured out who we don't want to work with, or we don't want to target. Okay, we want to target. I want us to be like the LLC experts.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do everything. My team, they're going to be writing about LLCs. I'm just going to be talking about LLCs. And for the people that need it, I'll turn them into an S corp.
Yeah, who you should probably look at focusing on as a target group is people that are newly into real estate investing. Because one of the things that they're taught is they put all of their investment properties into LLCs. So they need a bunch of them.
But real estate, usually an LLC is good for.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say that might be a good target group for you. Like,
oh, I get you.
I'm always talking about segmenting. You always look at your overall industry, and the first thing you want to do is segment it. And you look for where the profit is, where's the easy money. And I think for you, as far as in that category, and that would be a good segment for you, because when people get into real estate investing, one of the first things that they're taught is asset protection. Right. And they teach you to create an LLC and put one property in each LLC. And then they don't know how to deal with that for taxes. So now you have a tax client. So you did a one-time thing, setting up their LLC to get the long-term. Now you can do a package for them. You can do their annual minutes. You can do, the whole deal, and you can set up their taxes, do their whole. You're back in now.
That's what all I need is how do I get them to my site? Because
Okay.
so I get their email address. Really, all I want, go to my site and download something. I can
Okay.
get them to download something. I could write all about this.
Here's something that you can definitely learn from me. The way I do exactly what you just asked about is with referral partners.
Okay.
So if I were
Oh,
you,
I see.
I would reach out to the people that are teaching real estate investment that don't do what we just mentioned. You form a relationship with them where you say, hey, anybody you flow over, I can handle this piece of the puzzle for you. I'll give you a kickback on every new account I set up, and they will start flowing you a steady stream because they're marketing. They're spending the money to put people in their rooms. And you come in as an add-on sale for them to maximize their profit. Because a lot of times they'll do a break even getting people in the room. So after they do that, now they are really highly focused on profit. So you come in as what's called a profit maximizer.
All right, cool.
You can say, and here's your pitch to them. You're going to sell X amount of people in the room and you're going to make your normal profit. How would you like to increase that? I can offer you a profit maximizer on top of what you're already doing without doing anything else. People love to make more money by not doing more work. And they're already doing a lot of work. They're already doing the work you don't want to do, which is marketing, getting the asses in the seats. So they're doing you a huge favor. You're offering them a profit maximizer. That is a good match. That's what all of you should be looking for. Who has an audience that is right for you, but you don't compete with the audience maker? You enhance it.
I have people like that, just not in real estate.
Yeah.
But those are good clients for us.
Yeah.
Now, just one more question. So I could go, but I still want to know, how do I search for the right keywords for those people?
That's a matter of your analysis, figuring out, who they are, what they want. When you figure out what they want, that'll tell you what they're looking for.
Okay, I get it.
When you figure out why they want it, that'll give you deeper meaning to it. So you can dig even deeper on it.
Hey, Joe, I do know that I have a client, and I didn't understand this, but as it relates to real estate agents, I have a client who's an accountant and he also invests in real estate. And one of the biggest problems he says about real estate agents, not the brokers, but the agents, is that when they're on a roll, they're making money, but they don't pay the taxes, and then they're shocked later when it comes up.
Oh, yeah, those are my targets too, because they're
exactly
1099 people.
Right. So you might want to keep that in mind. That's
a
big issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
all right, John, thank you.
So basically, back to the whole point of I don't mind working hard for a short period of time. I worked very hard putting the ACT program together. And it was a means to an end. I saw a very big need for, there was a big gap in the market that needed to be filled. So I went to work. I worked very hard to put that program together. And now all I do is I look for partners that feed it. I'm not out working constantly marketing it. I'm not all over social media trying to scratch for the next customer. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I just don't see that as the best and highest use of my time. I would rather focus my time on finding a good referral partner, even if they're not going to flood through. Like the ones I absolutely love are the ones with a large audience and they're somewhat greedy. They like to make big hit money. They think in those terms. They're what's called big hitters. They want to make a big chunk of money real quick, real easy. Those are the ones that you invite to do a webinar with you. You're going to have them put you on a webinar with their people. You're going to do a presentation. You're going to make a pitch. They're going to purchase on the back end. And I offer them a very large chunk of the front end because I don't really care about front end sales. I know if I acquire customers on the front end, I'm going to have a lifetime customer on the back end. So I don't need to make money on my front end sales. That's why, with the ACT program, it's normally $19.97. My intention was never to sell it for $2,000. My intention was to sell it for $500 or $497 because I wanted more people to have access to it. I didn't want it to be like some exclusive club where you could only get in if you had money. I didn't want that. When I do promotions with people and allow them to sell it, like they'll bring me on for a webinar and we'll pitch it, I always ask them, I tell them, you're going to get half the money up front. And sometimes I'll offer them even more. Sometimes I'll offer them 75% of the front end. And then I tell them, I go, here's the deal. You're going to make 75% of the front end. You get to decide how much we're going to sell it for. So if you want to give it to your audience at $497, I'm fine with that. You get half of it or 3/4 of it, whatever we negotiate. I say, if you want to sell it for $99, that's fine too. You get half of it or 3/4 of it, whatever we negotiated. If they want to give it away for free, I'm fine with that. You get half of free. Most people want to make at least some money. So I've only had one person that actually wanted to do it out for free to their audience, and I was perfectly fine with that, just like I told him I was. Because I acquired a whole bunch of customers that are now with me for life. They know me, they trust me, they're using a lot of the services from my companies, and they're also using my referrals when I refer them out to people that I know they need. So I'm making money all the way around. It's like the flywheel concept. The hardest thing to do with a flywheel, do you guys know what a flywheel is? It's a big heavy gear in a car, and it's really hard to get it going. But once it's going, it keeps the motor running effortlessly. But it's hard to get it going. You spend a lot of energy to move that flywheel, but once it moves, then the motor starts, and now it's just running, and it runs easily and smoothly. Your business is just like that. It's got a flywheel in it. The hardest thing for you to do is to move that flywheel from a stop. So last week we talked about the pipeline, the sales pipeline. When you stop feeding the front end of your sales pipeline, guess what? Your sales on the other end stop. Your flywheel is now stopped. Really hard to get it moving again. So once you get that thing rolling, you keep it rolling, you keep feeding on it. The more people that you help and you come in contact with, the more opportunity you have to get them, leverage them to help you even further. When you do something good for somebody, there's no better time than that moment for you to ask them, who else do you know that could use this? I mean, that's a really good way to spin the flywheel even faster. And you all have these opportunities. I don't know if you're leveraging them or taking advantage of them. But for me, that's like the easy money. That's like the money just, laying at your feet. You can just pick it up. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to work for it.
So John, I should just be going after the people that put on the real estate workshops.
That's exactly what my point was. They're
Okay.
doing all the heavy lifting, and you just come in as a profit maximizer.
Yeah, I know this guy, Mike Wolf, that does some real estate.
Yeah. And he probably doesn't do what we were talking about.
I don't think, I gotta look at his thing again and talk to him, but
He probably talks about it. Here's the other thing. The smart ones will have vendors in place already.
actually, no, he has some accountants. He's got some border
Okay.
account, but I don't know. Not all accountants do, business formations.
Exactly. So when that's the case, and like I said, the smart ones will have this already in play. They'll already have something. Maybe it's not as good as yours. This is where your opportunity to make a pitch is. This is where you come in and you show them how I'm better, faster, stronger, and I'm going to make you more money.
Yeah, I could put together a whole campaign just based on that.
Yeah. When you can show somebody
cool.
that's in business, most people in business are in business to make money, right? If you can show them how you can help them make more money without doing any more work, they're usually very open to that conversation.
And if they're not, then I don't even want to talk to them anyways.
If it's right, it's like it's a numbers game. You know, business is a numbers game. Sales is a numbers game. You're not going to make 100% of sales. But if you stop on the first time you get a no, what's going to happen? You know, it's going to be the end of the game. It shouldn't be.
Actually, I just want to get clients, right?
Yeah.
If they don't want to share in the right, yeah, okay, I got it.
And back to the ACT program, you know, you've got the A, C, and the T. If you look at a no, whenever a salesperson gets a no, it's just like when a business has a problem foundationally, it's always going to be in one of those three buckets. Analysis, that's the market. Maybe they're talking to the wrong person. That's an A problem. That's an analysis problem. They didn't figure out the market, right? If they've got the right person and they get a no, then they didn't figure out the messaging. That's in the C of ACT. That's the creation. The creation's always based on the A, the analysis. So it's either a market, a message, or it's in the T. They're not getting in front of enough people. You're always going to find the problem in one of those three buckets, unless it's a personnel problem. That I can't solve for you. If it's somebody that's just abrasive and nobody wants to be in their presence, that's a whole different issue. I don't have the answer for that one. We need to dig deeper for that, for a person that knows about that issue. But that's not me. But that's it. If you ever come to a no, you're gonna get in the one of those three, usually in the first two. So Fran, you're waving. Do you have a question there?
Yeah, because I wanted to see if I can get some input from you on my marketing. So,
Okay.
yeah, I have a couple of questions that were brought up right now. And one of them is, okay, I have a spice blend. They're all geared toward health benefits, and I'm still beginning. I haven't really launched the marketing part of it yet, but I'm ready. And as far as like influencers or referral partners and everything, there's a lot of choices out there. You, from your perspective, as far as like being small, I don't have a track record having contacted people yet in that respect. Where would you begin? And also your flywheel concept. Well, that's never mind that one for now, but the referral partners, as far as your input.
Okay. A referral partner. That's
I know what they are. I just talking about for a spice blend. Would
Uh-huh.
you think of anybody that would, I mean, in the health area?
Well, basically with what you have, anybody in the health arena would be a good referral partner for you.
Mhm.
The better ones are going to be the ones with the bigger audiences.
Yeah.
That are engaged. An engaged audience is better than a big size audience. If you can find a larger size that has a high engagement, that's an ideal partner for you. You're not looking for somebody that's in the same thing as you are. Like Joe's not looking for other accountants. You're not looking for other people that sell spice blends.
Mhm.
You're looking for somebody that has your audience, but they don't offer their audience what you offer.
Right.
So you become now a profit maximizer for them. You offer your thing to allow them to make money with your products. They've already done the hard work. They've already spent the money. They've already created the audience. Now their problem is they need to make money with it.
Mhm.
So you come in as a sales wing. You're a new product line for them to promote and to sell and to make a profit from. That's what business fundamentally is about, buying and selling
Mhm.
of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. There's somebody buying and there's somebody selling. You know, it's commodity based. It's supply and demand. If there's a huge demand and you can come in and fill a gap, you'll make a lot of money.
Mhm.
It really is that simple. You have to find the gaps. You've got to find where there's a massive demand and there is no supply. And you come in and you fill that. Now, a lot of times you can figure out how to package your thing. Your thing might be something where there is a large supply.
Mhm.
And you package it up as though it looks different. That's where the whole unique mechanism comes in.
What do you mean different? You mean to different people, package it for different?
You say it in a different way. That's the whole big idea concept.
Okay.
Remember where you make a promise? If you make the same promise as everyone else,
Mhm.
you're going to be seen like everyone else. So you're not going to stand out. There's going to be nothing that separates you from the herd.
Mhm.
So you're just going to be a white sheep in a field of white sheep.
Gotcha.
That's no way to go through life. So if you want to stand out and you want to be different, you want to be the one that's in demand. That's where the big idea concept comes in. And that's three pieces. That's the promise. You have to make the same promise as maybe what everyone else is making. There's no way around it. You've got to make the promise. The promise can be different though. You can make a stronger promise if you do your analysis properly and you figure out not only what they want, but why they want it. A lot of times, the deeper you go on the promise based on why they actually want it, the more powerful that promise will become. So that's one way where you can beat the rest at the first piece, which is the promise.
Mhm.
Next, the promise is worthless unless they believe it. So that's where the unique mechanism comes in. That's your specific thing that no one else has that delivers the result of the promise. That's probably 80 to 90% of the magic sauce in that formula. It's the unique mechanism, the thing that's going to do the work to deliver on that promise. That should be completely unique to you. That's your spice blend. That's the thing no one else has. That's your expertise. You should name it. Everybody has a name for something. Like with my program, there's a lot of marketing programs out there, right? But there's only one ACT marketing protocol. That's mine. I put a name on it. That's my unique mechanism for how I deliver the result.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's what you need to do. Whatever it is that you're offering, it needs to have a name that's unique to it.
Mhm.
And that
Like
becomes
like the whole concept of the blends needs to have a name.
yeah.
Oh.
And you might have a dozen of them. You might have 100 of them.
Right.
Each unique blend has a different promise, has a different unique mechanism.
Mhm.
And the third piece to the puzzle is saying it in a way they've never heard it before.
Mhm.
So that's where you bring in you're painting pictures where they can see something where they didn't see it before. Or they're like, well, how does that work? A perfect example of this is when I created the big idea where I talked about Elvis. What I offered was an Elvis Shift. And the Elvis Shift was actually my unique mechanism, and it's part of the ACT program. I said, there's a thing that a struggling musician did in his business that turned him from a struggling musician to the king of rock and roll overnight. And it was called the Elvis Shift. And I can show you how you can use it in your business to transform you from a struggling business owner to the king of whatever niche you're in overnight, just like he did. And they've never heard that before. They've never heard Elvis Shift. They've never put that comparison together. Everyone knows Elvis, right? At least in our age category. We all know who Elvis was. We all know he was the king of rock and roll. A lot of people don't know that he was a struggling musician doing gospel music. Well, when you look at the market, the message, and the traffic, the act of Elvis did not analyze his market. He was not giving the market the right message. His market was young teenage girls. That was his market. He didn't recognize that. He was trying to sell gospel music to teenage girls that didn't want it. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly the path he was on. He was struggling. He was about to give up. And then I don't know how it happened. I actually watched a documentary on it, which is how I came up with the whole big idea. I watched it. I'm like, I could use that to market act. I could use exactly that. I called it the Elvis Shift. So, I mean, these ideas for big ideas, they come from anywhere. And you can piece them together to get that curiosity factor. That's the third piece. Your promise, unique mechanism, and then the curiosity factor of how does that work? You know, how is it that something Elvis used to go from struggling to the king of rock and roll, how could I use that in my business to get the same result? Because that's the promise. That's what they want, right? Nobody wants to struggle in business. They want to be the king or the queen of whatever they do. They want to be at the top of their game. They want crowds to go nuts for them, right? We all want that. I know a lot of us won't admit it, but we all want that. I mean, a lot of you guys are in the rock star marketing group, right? That is exactly what that is. So don't tell me you don't want it. You wouldn't be here. And when I put that together, I'm making a promise based on what I know they want. They want to be a rock star in their industry. They want to be admired. They want everyone to look up to them. They want to be a leader. They want a massive following. So I used Elvis, who was the best example I could think of at the time.
Would you repeat that? I know you told the story a couple of weeks ago, but how that transitioned into him changing?
Oh, for Elvis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a complete little excerpt that you explained that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I did have that in that recording, but just as a kind of an overview, he decided to change and do something a little spicier in his music, and people liked it. But the thing was, when he got, I think it was the Ed Sullivan show, he got invited onto the Ed Sullivan show because he came out with this new sound and everybody loved it. So they put him on the Ed Sullivan show. He was kind of an introvert, believe it or not. He was not outgoing. And when he went up on stage at the Ed Sullivan show, he was so nervous that his knee was twitching. And one of the things that he recognized, he was very intuitive. He was in tune with his audience. Every time his knee quivered, the girls went crazy. So he accentuated it. He started doing it on purpose, and they went absolutely nuts. That's where all of his wild dancing and his hip moves and all that stuff came from. It was the reaction from the crowd to him. He liked it, so he did it more and he got more of it. So what that is and how that relates to the Elvis shift that I'm going to teach you in your business is you need to adapt. You need to shift what you're doing to what your customers want. That is what will make you the king of rock and roll. If you continue doing what they don't want, you will continue to struggle. It's when you figure out what they want and you make that shift, that's when they will love you. That's when they will be your raving fans. That's when they'll scream at the top of their lungs to tell everyone about you. That's the Elvis shift. You can all do that in your business. Elvis did it in his, and his result was the promise that you desire, was to go from struggling to be the king of rock and roll overnight. And it was a simple shift. He just did what his audience wanted. And that's the analysis part of ACT. And then the creation. You're creating the message for the market. When you get those two holding hands, you will become very powerful. That is what it's all about.
Well, the Elvis story has emotion behind it, so it really hits home more
Yeah.
so. just-
And that's where, when you take something that they've never heard it said in that way before, everyone has heard the business speeches. They've all heard what I just said, but they never heard it tied to Elvis. That's the interesting, compelling thing that you can wrap your big idea with. So it's kind of like artistry. There's a little bit of science to it. There's definitely a formula. I can give you the formulas all day long because I've identified them. The formula for a big idea: promise, unique mechanism, interesting angle. The interesting angle was my Elvis shift, how Elvis turned from struggling musician to the king of rock and roll. The promise there was take you and whatever you do and turn you into the king of rock and roll by using this thing that is the unique mechanism that delivers the result. That's the formula, inside and out, backwards and forwards. You can piece it together however you want, but if it has those three pieces and they all work together, it will be successful. That makes sense?
Yes, no, I got it.
And I've hammered this in you guys so many times, how important the big idea is, because it is the front end of your marketing.
Mhm.
It's the thing that's going to grab attention. And, if you
But
can't
a lot
grab
of-
attention, you don't go to the next, you don't advance to the next layer.
Mhm.
It's like a video game. You're stuck in the bottom rung. You don't get to advance.
Well, like with Elvis, it was an accidental discovery.
Uh-huh.
And so targeting that and trying to find it like a needle in a haystack when you're trying to build something that's a little bit different. So you just have to keep looking for the right hook.
Yeah. And when you know what to look for, this is kind of the key. You're not going to get this stuff overnight. You're not going to just all of a sudden get good at doing big ideas. It's a muscle. It's something that needs to be developed. And once you get the pieces and they make sense to you and you start thinking in those ways, what's going to happen is when you go through your daily life, you're going to start seeing things, and you're going to start being able to take things that you're seeing in your everyday life and attach them. Just like I wasn't like trying to develop that big idea. I was sitting on my couch with my wife watching a documentary on Elvis. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a great big idea. It literally fell in my lap while I was living. I'm just sitting here living my life day to day, and these big ideas are falling in my lap now because I can see them.
Mhm.
Before, I couldn't see them. I couldn't identify them. I didn't, it's just like, oh yeah, you're going through life and everything's good, but there's a lot of stuff going around you that you could use.
Mhm.
And if you know what to look for, now you can start looking. In fact, you don't even have to look. You just see it.
Mhm.
You can see now what you couldn't see before.
Mhm.
It's always there. It's just now you know how to see it.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot of fun.
it is. This stuff is a lot of fun. Once you get to know it, you get comfortable with it. You can't be afraid of it.
Mhm.
A lot of people are afraid of it. They're afraid to try.
Mhm.
And you got to the only way you're going to get good at it is to start doing it.
Yeah. I'm almost ready to do my TikToks with my costume. So I've done a couple of practice runs, and so I think I can do this. Yay! And it's like I'm laughing about it because it is kind of like kooky, and it's like it's certainly not in the box, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. Shanta, you got your hand up there?
Yes, John. John, I have a quick question. I'm getting ready to do a postcard mailing, and I just wanted you to take a look at it, just the messaging, to see whether it's, and this is going to go to, I bought a list of 100 people in our neighborhood above a certain income, and certain other categories that I chose.
Okay.
Can I share my screen to just show you the
Sure.
image of the back?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, let me move this. So this is going to be the front of the card. Just says river
Okay.
cruising is back. It's really targeting people who would love to go on river cruises. Um,
Okay.
And then the back is what I have. I hope it's big enough for you to read. This will be the first one, and then every 2 weeks, I'm going to send a different one for a period of, I don't know, 3-4 months.
Okay. So this is, I'm just strictly reading your wording here.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like a documentary. It reads like a documentary.
Okay.
It's just the facts. It's like, hey,
Mhm.
here I am. Here's what I just did. I just got back. It doesn't have a lot of sizzle to it.
Okay.
There's not a big idea,
Hmm.
not a clear one anyway. I mean, the big idea here, the underlying big idea is to cruise the river,
Hmm.
but it's not really out in their face. It's not, and I know there's probably a lot of rivers. There's probably a lot of river cruises.
Mhm.
So it doesn't say that.
Okay.
There's like, you could come out and you could say, of all the river cruises in the world, I've just discovered the one that's the river cruise of a lifetime. You need to have some kind of sizzle in there.
Okay.
And you're the expert. You discovered it, just like the Elvis Shift. You've gone on all these river cruises and now you've discovered the one that changed your life. And this is the thing that also makes it the unique mechanism. This is the thing that's going to change their life. It's going to be different than all the other ones they've done. If they haven't done one yet, let's just go right to the creme de la creme. Let's skip the learning curve. People love to skip learning curves. They don't want to go through that process. Nobody wants to learn. They just want the outcome.
Hmm.
So you've got to figure out how to get some sizzle into this. Like you're coming up with the negatives too, like precautions taken. I don't know that should be something that you want to focus on in the front end. That will be an objection that comes up in your process, in your marketing or your sales process. So it has to be addressed. But with this piece is an attention grabber.
Yeah.
So whenever you have an attention grabber, the whole job of the attention grabber is to grab the attention. It's not to explain the nuances. It's not to talk about the negatives. It's just to get their eyes on it. It's to start creating demand and desire. That's where, when you're in that phase, that's where you invite them over to a webinar or opt in to find out about it. That's when you can address all the other deeper stuff. Because as you're creating demand and desire, that's where objections are going to come into play.
Hmm.
That's where, the head's going to step in the way and say, yeah, I don't believe it. Or what about this? Or I can't do that yet because of this. That's where those things get addressed, but not in the front.
Not on the first initial one. Okay.
Yeah. It's got to be just your attention grabber. And that's big idea. Big idea is the formula for grabbing attention. So promise, unique mechanism, and the thing that saying it in a way they've never heard it before.
Okay.
So those are your pieces to hunt for. So now as you're going through day-to-day life, you'll be looking for that stuff and it will fall in your lap.
Hmm.
And then at some point, you'll go, man, this is easy. I don't know what my problem was.
I'll
John,
work
that's
on that.
easier said than done. Can you expound on that just a minute? Because you just hit on something that is like a nerve for me. You just said, be looking for it. But if you don't know what it is that you're looking for, it can be staring you right in the face. So just in terms of that big idea, like when Shanta just showed that, I wanted to see something that said, grab your passport, or, an international symbol of a person sitting in front of a computer, like, get out. That would get my attention, as opposed to, or a postcard that looks like something that you'd send home.
Well,
You
a
know,
deeper, even a deeper one, like if you're looking at a couple that's going to go on this, what might be a big driver to get some man or some woman to try and push for this, in their relationship? Maybe rekindle the fire. Now you're talking about a much deeper emotion. Now you're not talking about just what they want, but why they want it. When you figure out the why they want it, you will become very powerful. They want to go on a cruise. That's one layer. That's the bottom layer. But why do they want to go on the cruise?
John, also though, what was the areas in the past things that you've done, Shanta, where basically, you know what I mean, you shook your leg and all of a sudden, oh man, that got their attention. To me, I got that out of what you said today, John, because that's what I did with the Zig story. Everybody wants to hear my Zig story. What is it with you, Shanta? I know you've got something that the people who get from you, they jump. You need to highlight that over and over.
Yeah, like when those people come off the cruise ship, what's the state they're in? What was the transformation? What did they look like when they boarded the ship? And what did they look like when they got off? Were they in love again? Was the relationship restored? Were they looking into each other's eyes and passionate again? Did it just revive their life? Now they can go back and be more effective in their everyday lives. It's not just about the cruise. It's the why they want it. It's really what it's going to do for them. It's almost never about the thing. It's always about what the thing does. Maybe they don't have memories. Maybe they don't have stories to tell. Maybe they're seen as boring in their neighborhood. If they come back from a cruise, now all the neighbors want to hear how it was. They're all of a sudden now the featured highlight in the neighborhood. They're popular. That shit goes a long way. Believe it or not, it's amazing what drives people. You figure out how to attach what you do to that, and you'll be very successful. That's what we're talking about. Figure out, I always say, don't just figure out what they want, figure out why they want it, what it's really going to do for them. All right, Sabine, you've had your hand up there. Sabine is a new member here.
Yes, hello, John. Good seeing you.
Yeah,
hello,
you
everybody.
too.
Hey, I have a question which has preoccupied me for quite a while. You're building my website, and so I target specifically stroke survivors because I'm a stroke survivor myself. But I'm also a person with a disability. So I just want to hear your opinion. Is the market with my push framework, the 6-step of my push framework to help stroke survivors find a meaningful life again, is stroke survivors a bit too narrow? That it's always something, when I talk to people, some people tell me, oh, this is really narrow. You push, message, persevere until success happens. It's good for everybody who has adversity. And I just want to hear your opinion about that. Should I right now stay with a stroke survivor, or should I already go a little bit?
It's perfectly fine to be narrow.
Okay.
You'll find, like, there's almost a cliche in internet marketing: the riches are in the niches. But you have to make sure that the segment that you have is big enough to support your sales goals,
Right.
that the people in it have the money to pay for your product, and they have the willingness to pay the money. They
Yes.
have to have all three of those to be a successful niche segment.
Exactly. Yeah.
If they do, then you don't need to go wider. What you do is you focus on that, you make that successful, and then you take 2 steps to the side and you just clone what you did for that group. And then you clone it and you rename a couple of things, and now you have it for a whole different group.
Exactly.
But the more focused and the more targeted it is, the more that group is going to feel at home with it.
Right. Right.
Everybody, like, you don't go to a doctor generically. You want a specialist. Like,
Yes.
if you're going in for brain surgery, you don't want, a knee doctor.
No.
Right?
No, you don't. Not a good idea.
No, it's not. And there's a reason for that. People want to feel like they're going with an expert, a specialist.
Right. Exactly. And just because of the experience, about, I have, it will make sense to go through the stroke survivors, but I would just wanted to see what you are saying. And the question is, do they have the money? And the only way to find that out, I suppose, is just to try, right?
That's one way.
Yeah.
Sometimes intuitively, and obviously they're not all going to have the money. It's just enough of them have to be in that category. Now, the one thing that I don't like about what I hear from you, as you refer to yourself as a survivor, and nobody wants to just survive.
Right.
I see that as a negative in life. I don't want to survive something. I don't want to be a business survivor, right? I want to thrive.
To thrive. Okay.
So
Good
you might
point.
be and this might be in something where you paint the same thing in a different way that people resonate with. Because nobody wants to be just a survivor. People will have strokes and they will survive, but that's not what they want. They want to thrive.
Perfect.
So I would rather see you be a stroke thriver than a stroke
I will keep that
survivor.
in mind. Excellent. Okay.
Because when you position yourself in the what they want, you now become the promise.
Right.
And if they see you thriving and you start referring to yourself as a stroke thriver, what do you think they're going to want? They're going to want to thrive just like you. They're going to want to be you.
Yes.
That's how you lead a large audience, is becoming what they want. Then they will desire you. They will follow you. They'll go to the ends of the earth to please you. It's amazing. Frank Kern is a master of this. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's kind of one of the early marketers that really got this stuff figured out online and did really, really well. And when he came into the internet marketing space, he was fairly young and he was very unpolished. And he thought he was like a dog trainer. He sold dog fences, the electric fences where you put the collar on your dog, and if he goes outside the fence, he gets shocked. He was a salesperson going door to door selling those things. And it was back, forget what state he was in, but back east somewhere doing that. And when he got into the internet marketing space, it was funny. He thought that everybody needed to wear a suit and tie. So he got dressed up, and it looked like he went to Goodwill and was playing dress up as a kid. And he was very clunky. But he got a hold of the right people, and they showed him the way, and they trained him. And he is like a rock star in this thing. He is like considered one of the best at this point. But I knew him before. I saw him kind of grow up inside this thing. And I've learned a lot from him, from what he learned from going to experts. And he was always a couple of steps ahead of me in the whole marketing game, because I was doing SEO. I wasn't doing marketing like he was. He was focused on that end of things. But when he came out to California, what he realized was what his audience want. His audience was all people in day jobs. And he actually named his avatar Bob. And he said, Bob is a guy that works behind a counter. You know, he's probably a teller at a bank or something. And he really got the guy dialed in of who it was. And he said, Bob spends half of his day daydreaming about, you know, the good life, living on the beach and, you know, having income come in and, you know, all of this. He wants to do that desperately. He wants to be his own boss, but he's afraid of losing his significance because right now he brings money home for his family and he's the head of the household. So Frank was developing in his mind this avatar of who he was marketing to. He was doing his analysis, figuring out who he was talking to and what was important to them and why they wanted it. You know, they wanted it because they hated the day job, right? What they were afraid of was they were going to let their family down. You know, if they go out and they don't be successful, now they've let their family down and they're going to struggle at home because of that, because of his failure. So the fear of failure was the biggest hurdle that Frank had to get over. But what he realized in the process of doing that marketing was he realized that for Bob to want to be him, for Bob to want to be Frank, Frank has to become what Bob wants. And that was be a surfer. So Frank grew his hair out. He changed everything. He learned how to surf. He moved to the beach. He did all that stuff so he could become what Bob wanted to be. And I mean, that's pretty extreme. He changed his physical appearance. He took up a new hobby. He learned a new skill, surfing, so that he could become what Bob wanted to be. And yeah, it's a lot of work, you know, and I say it's okay doing a lot of work in the front end as a means to an end. Well, Frank did that and it paid off massively for him. He made millions of dollars helping Bob get out of his day job and become a successful marketer. But he had to do some radical stuff to make that happen. He had to actually become a surfer to lead that group because that's what that group wanted. That group would not have followed him in a suit because that's not what they wanted. They wanted out of the suit. They wanted board shorts and a t-shirt sitting on the beach. So that's what he had to become to lead them out of it. So you really need to become what they want so you can lead them to where you want them to go. And that's why I don't want to see you as just a survivor. I want to see you as a thriver.
Absolutely. I love it.
You need to be at the top of your game if you want to lead people to the top.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Great advice. Thank you.
sure.
Great advice. Awesome.
John, may I tailgate on that with regard to what you were talking about?
Sure.
The avatar. Excuse me. The avatar whole issue is that a process of actually going out and putting on your safari hat and your magnifying glass and trying to go out and interview and find people to that you think you want to sell to, or is it literally just pull it out of the air and create a scenario of a person that makes sense and looks real, and then market to that person because you think that there's got to be somebody like that out there somewhere? You follow what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. It's any and all of the above. It could be anything that you just mentioned, whatever works. Like sometimes, in some cases, you will be your avatar. In a lot of cases, when somebody gets really good at something, they were the person that they're trying to sell to, but they're in a new state now. So a new state of mind, new frame of mind. So when you're doing that exercise and you're coming up with your avatar of who you're trying to sell to, an avatar is a representation of your ideal customer. That's what an avatar is. It's important that you understand that, and you really understand that person so you can create your messaging to them. If you don't know how to talk to them, you won't be very effective. if you don't know who they are, there's no way you could know how to talk to them, right? So it's like putting the ABCs in order. So you're not skipping around through the alphabet. You're going through it smoothly as a transition. So understanding who you're talking to, and a lot of times, like I said, that might be you. Like you might have discovered this great thing and now you want to share it with everyone else. So if that's the case, you have to get out of your head who you are now, and you have to travel back in time, and you have to get back to where you were when you were your avatar. And if you can do that, if you can travel back in your mind and figure out where you were, what you wanted, how you felt about it, all of that stuff, you will get a lot of what you need right there out of your own head in a few minutes. If that's not the case, if you're developing something like you see a gap in a market that you don't know anything about, and you're coming into it cold and you're learning it, then that's not going to work. You have to figure out who it is that has this gap. Maybe you might talk to them. Maybe you might talk to people that know them. A lot of times people don't have a lot of insight into their own things. Like if you ask them, you know, what's your biggest hurdle? They are probably going to just tell you something superficial. And what you can do is you can say, wow, that's interesting. Other than that, you know, is there anything else? And when you get about 3 or 4 layers deep in that questioning, you'll probably get to something that's meaningful to you. But right off the top, they're going to give you something superficial because they're not thinking about it. They're, you know, it's you need to take them there. You need to take them on that journey. So interviewing people is, you know, really quite an art to really get out of them what you really want to know. And it's like in sales, you know, Eric Lofholm teaches this process. When you get an objection, somebody says no, you ask them what's holding them back, knowing that the first thing they tell you is not going to be it. But you have to acknowledge it. You have to agree with it. You have to say, I totally understand that. And in a minute, I'll explain that process or whatever that is. But other than that, is there anything else that would be holding you back? If that weren't an issue, would there be anything else? And the second thing they tell you is going to be a lot closer to the truth. And you do the same process with that. You acknowledge it, you accept it. You say, okay, you know, I'll talk to you about that. Other than those 2 things, is there anything else? And if you can get a third one out of them, that's where your gold's going to be. You might just have 2. They might have 3 or 4 or 5. But as soon as you get to the point where they say, nope, that's it. It's all out on the table. Now you know what you're dealing with. Now it's just a matter of you didn't explain it right. You need to go back and show them how each one of those things, you need to eliminate those objections. And then once you're done with that, now you ask them again, you know, does this sound like something you want to move forward with now that you understand it? It's not argumentative. It's you're accepting of what they thought and you're reversing their belief system. And that's, you use the claim proof benefit statements. That's the thing I learned from Benjamin Franklin, how he eliminated any objection. So that's basically the same thing with figuring out an avatar. You've got to dig down. You've got to figure out what's the real deal. You know, what do they really want and why do they want it?
Okay,
You know?
I that's the, and I mean this with no disrespect, but that's that spiel. You, as you say this every week. So I
do.
I think I've got that part. The question I have is, and maybe I've got this wrong, and this is a clarification that I need, is that you always talk about do the analysis, do the creation, and then do the traffic. What about all the affiliate marketers out there, of which I am not one? However, when I have come across some existing products that I want to put into my line that I know business owners really need. I'm sure it could probably be put up in a way that to make them realize that they have, but how do you do the ACT program backwards, where you have the product and the person who's got the product says they sell it this way or that way or whatever. And I can tell because I know enough about the ACT program that
Okay, I get it.
they have a special existing audience that they sold into to begin with to get the ball rolling. And because they did it a particular way, they think that way works. It doesn't, because I don't have that very specific audience that they initially sold into, you know? So I got to create a new one.
So that swings us back to the flywheel. So this is your own personal flywheel. Once you get somebody into your package, you sell them something, you do good for them, they're following you, they trust you. Now you come across something that you know that they could use. Your flywheel already has momentum. You're not going to have to take them through a cold sales process. You're going to reach out to them and you're going to say, hey, you know, now that you've gotten your business up to this level, here's the next step. I know a guy, he's got this cool thing, it's going to do this for you. And at that point, they just trust you and they'll just buy it. That's where the flywheel, you have that momentum. It's incredible leverage to your favor in your company to have that flywheel in motion.
Okay, what if I don't have my flywheel in motion at this point?
Then you need some kind of you need something to get it started. You need a lead magnet. A lead magnet's the easiest way to get the flywheel started. You're giving them something free of value that's going to move them closer to what they want. It's going to be easy for them to do, and it's going to leave them wanting more. And then you bring in the second thing, and then you get the flywheel spinning faster. And whether they've purchased your product or not, you're building trust and rapport with them. So whatever you drop in the sequence as they need it. I don't recommend that you just throw affiliate offers out just to make money. That's a good way to destroy your audience. What you want is like, I have a whole library of affiliate offers that I have. I've set up with, you know, as affiliates, as an affiliate for probably 100 different affiliate programs. I have 100 things that I could offer you. Will I? No. I might offer each of you a few of them that's right for you, but I would only offer it to you at the time that you needed it. Because I don't want to be the guy that you say, yeah, every time I talk to him, he's throwing something at me and, you know, just always trying to sell me something. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that changes your life. I want to be the guy that brings you what you need when you need it to accelerate your success. So I have a whole toolbox full of affiliate stuff for me to be able to do that. Every time I drop one in, it makes my flywheel spin faster. But I don't throw wrenches in the works. I don't just pour them all on you at one time, hoping to make as much as I can, as fast as I can, and leave you just overwhelmed and nowhere.
Obviously, that is absolutely key, and I agree with that 1,000%. One of the questions I have is, there's a lot of talk about automation. It seems to me, though, if you're trying to get that flywheel started and stuff, at the very beginning, it's not going to be automated. It's, you know, to get that flywheel going, you're going to have to talk with people. You're going to have to get on the phone. You're going to have to do one-on-one sales. You're going to have to do all that stuff. And maybe once the flywheel gets going, then you can automate it to the point where you don't ever talk to a customer to get them to sign up, kind of a thing. But I don't know if that is actually a myth or not, because I've not been down the road far enough. Do you actually get your business to a point where you don't ever talk to a customer, or is it always customer?
It depends on it totally depends on you. Like, I've got in my software side of my business, I rarely talk to anybody. They purchase off a webinar, they go into a webinar training. If somebody needs help setting it up, of course, I'll reach out and I'll help them set it up. But outside of that, there's really no interaction. It's pretty much automated to the hilt. Now, in my web development side of my business, that's not the case. You can't automate that. You have to talk to people, you have to get it right, and you've got to be involved. So it just depends on what you want to do. Like, I'm not out aggressively going after web development business because I don't really want to work that hard. I take people as they come. I take them by referral. I always want to take care of everybody, but I don't want to be overwhelmed with that level of support and interaction because I like to go fishing.
Of course. What specifically is the difference between software and web development? I mean, as categories, that sounds like something I should know what that is, but I would like to know what your definition and distinction between those two categories is specifically. Like, because I'm been around a while, I'm pretty familiar with most of your products and stuff. Which side is the software and which side is the web development?
Well, like software would be like SitePop. Somebody would buy SitePop, they set it up, it just works forever. They just keep paying for it. It keeps doing what it's supposed to do. With web development is one of those things where you work hard for a short period of time for a lifetime of income. Because I offer the hosting on the back end. Hosting is one of the things that's where the recurring income comes from the web development. I don't do anything in my business anymore that doesn't have recurring income to it. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be like $20 a month. That's it. As long as I've got something going on long term, that is worth me working hard on the front end to get it set up. So I'll work with a customer for, a couple of weeks to get their website up and running. And then now I've got a customer for life because they're going to continue on. I'm going to supply anything they need. They might need affiliate offers along the way. I have a lifetime value of that customer that is worth more than what I made from the web development up front. Like, that's why I said earlier, my job is to acquire customers. I don't need to make money by doing that. Like a lot of people, they want to make a bunch of money when they get a new customer. They want to fleece them up front. And, they want a big chunk on the front end, and because they're afraid that they're not going to get anything. It's a scarcity mindset. I know every new person that I bring in, if I don't make anything on them on the first transaction, that's okay. I've now made a customer for life. They're going to need stuff for the rest of their life and mine, and I will be able to connect the dots. Whether I provide the services or not, I know people that will pay me an affiliate commission, just like a sales commission, and I can bring that person everything they need. Well, probably not everything, but a lot of things that they will need throughout their business career. And they're very valuable to me. My customers are very valuable to me.
Which bucket does the SEO fall into?
SEO, that falls into, I have automated the SEO process to as far as it can be automated. So most people in SEO, that would be a major work job. So with me, it's a conversation up front. Very, very rare does somebody just come order SEO off my website. That would be very rare. It's typically a conversation, and generally the conversation is going to end in me turning them down as a client, because I won't take somebody on that's not ready for SEO. So 9 out of 10, I turn away, and I basically help them get on the right track to get them ready for it. So when they do follow through and do it, it will actually work for them.
So you don't do the process of actually looking at their website and saying, you're not ready for SEO, here's what you need to do, and then do that work for them. You make them do the work to come back to you and you say, do this checklist and come back to me when you got the checklist done?
Not necessarily, because that's not what most people like. In a lot of cases, this is the beginning of my flywheel. In a lot of cases, they'll come to me for SEO. I'll take a look at their site. I'll say, you got a lot of stuff that needs to be done before you do SEO. For one thing, Your website's not compliant. Your website's not mobile friendly. We're not going to be able to SEO it, and your customers aren't going to convert. So I tell them, you probably want to either contact your web developers and get them to fix all this stuff, or you want to go in and do it yourself, or you want to have a new site developed. And typically what I get from that is, can you do that for me? I'm not having to push a sale on them. They're asking me if I can help them. That's the way I do my presentations. I don't come to the end and say, yeah, does that sound like something you want to do? I don't do my sales that way.
So you wanna make sure-
I completely reverse the process. I get them asking me to help them. And now I've got a website project. Now I've got a hosting customer. Ultimately, they're going to turn into an SEO customer because I'm going to have it all in sequence and all done right for them. And along the way, I'm probably going to offer them the opportunity to get into Kartra, because without Kartra, they don't have a mechanism to create a mailing list. They don't have a mechanism to do online marketing. They're going to be like, in a boxing ring with their hands tied behind their back. It's not going to be fair for them. I want to level the playing field. I want to give them every opportunity to be successful, because that's what they're in business for. If I can't help them do that, then what good am I?
Yeah, the conversation to me sounds a lot like when you look at most people's websites. If you're going to go out, quote unquote, selling SEO, when somebody shows up and says, yeah, I'd like to do SEO, you have to obviously be a bit more diplomatic, and a longer conversation. But the short conversation is basically, you got a website up, but basically your business is crap because you haven't gone through ACT, you haven't gone through all these things. If you want to do SEO, the first thing we have to do is rebuild your business marketing arm from the ground up. And here's what you're going to need, because you're going to need content, you're going to need backlinks, you're going to need all this stuff. You're going to need to get the ACT program. You're going to need to get, the laundry list is mind-blowing if they really understand what it is to actually takes to get to be successful online. It's no small, easy project. It is a long, years-long project, maybe even to get them to the point where they're ready for SEO, let alone turning on a site pop and the rest of that stuff to actually get them to where they want to go. If I got that wrong, but that's what it really looks like to me.
Now that depends entirely on who you're talking to. If you're talking to a business owner that has built a business in the real world and he wants to move it online, it's not that big of a process, because all we're going to do is we're going to take what worked in the real world for him and we're just going to digitize it. We're not having to go through ACT. He's already done that. Now, if this is a new entrepreneur and they're starting a business, then I wouldn't even recommend that they go into that. I would say, I would recommend that they go through the ACT program and make sure that they are targeting the right market. Make sure that when they're creating the right messaging. Make sure that, when they go and spend money on traffic, that they're driving the right traffic to the right message that consists of the right market. So they don't waste money. They don't waste time. They get to success quicker. And that really just shortens their learning curve. So I'm really doing them a favor. I'm not telling them, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that and all this. I'm being a consultant. They call it consultative selling. And it is the smoothest sales process I've ever seen, because I'm not really trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to understand what they want to do and help them get there. And I don't get technical about it. I never really try and sell SEO. Like if I go in for an SEO consultation, I don't even talk about SEO. I never even mention the word. I don't talk specifics about it. I don't get into any of the details. I don't lead them through the weeds. I talk to them about what's important to them. I say, tell me about your most profitable customer. If I could bring you a customer that would change your business, who would that be? And now they start thinking about who they want. And they start verbalizing to me in their words who this person is and why they would be so good as a customer for them. And then I ask them, I say, okay, I think I know a couple of those people, but based on the ones that you know, what do you think they would type in if they sat down in front of their computer to look for you or look for what you offer? And now they're telling me what that person's going to type in. They're giving me the keywords. And the next thing I do is I say, well, you have a computer in front of you. Let's see what happens when you do that. Pull up Google and type that phrase in. Let's see who comes up. They're on a journey of self-discovery that they've got a massive problem, because they're going to type that word in and they're going to see all their competitors. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come and I'm going to look over their shoulder. I'm going to say, you know any of these guys? And I always ask questions I already know the answer to. I know they know them. It's their competitors. So what I'm doing is I'm sticking a knife in and I'm twisting the shit out of it. They're answering a question here they don't want to verbalize out loud, because it admits they have a massive hole in their business. These people are so far ahead of them, they're not even showing up. And at that point, how hard have I tried to sell them on SEO? I've just let them discover they have a massive problem. They're asking me now, how do we fix this? How do we get here?
So I wouldn't say common wisdom, but a lot of the high-end guys, when they're doing sales, they have a questioning sequence that's designed to twist the knife and get them to feel the pain, and asking questions that you know are going to cause them pain when they answer them, so that they're in a very painful spot. It sounds to me, though, that you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it rather than pushing them into the pain. You're walking with them down the road and letting them fall into it. Have I got that right?
I'm letting them tell me they have a problem. I'm not asking them the traditional questions that makes them feel boxed in and uncomfortable. Because if you've ever been in front of a salesperson, all you want to do is get out of the room as fast as you can, because you know what they're doing to you. It doesn't feel like they're there to help you. It feels like they're there to extract a check. And that is the difference between a sales presentation and consultative selling. I'm consulting them. I'm really honestly figuring out what they're going through, how I can help. You see the difference in the questions I ask versus what you know they would ask, and from a salesperson.
As you've said, you know the answers to the question, but you're going at it from the standpoint of you're discovering it along with them and asking them the questions that will lead them into the holes that they're going to follow into. And you're almost sort of like, that's as big a surprise to you when they find that out as it was to them.
Exactly.
And so you're partnering with them through that process, as opposed to trying to lead them into the corral of snakes and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And then what I'll do, once they discover the problem, then I have a story for them. I say, wow, I have another customer that was just like this a year ago, and now we've got them up, and they're actually getting the customers they deserve. And all of a sudden, now what did I do? I became the person they want to be, or it wasn't even me. I told them a story about the person they want to be, and they want my help to get there. They know I helped the other guy get there, and they want my help to get them there. Again, they're asking me for help. I'm not asking them for business. I'm not pushing them and saying, yeah, you want to get started today or tomorrow or next week? I'm not doing all that crap. I'm giving it to them on their timeline. I'm saying, we can start this as soon as you want. You tell me, you're the boss.
So that's sort of the benefit if you're doing whatever type of audit of their website or their business or whatever. You do the audit, and then you show them where the audit is a report, and it says where all these problems are, and it says, here, I'll be happy to tell you how to fix all that stuff. And after you get done explaining what they're going to have to do to solve that problem, that's the point at which they say, Jesus, can you just do this for me? That's what I'm hearing.
They're already there. They're already asking me if I can do it for them. And they're asking me what it's going to cost. And the last thing I want to do is throw a number out at them, because now they're going to feel like, oh, he's got a cookie cutter in his pocket and I just fit into it. So what I say is, I go, I'd like to do a little research on here. I would like to analyze who we just looked at and yours and see what the gap is. And now I know how far I have to go to get you there. And that will be the basis for the price. And that seems fair to everyone. That's very open and transparent. They know what they need. They know what they're going to get. And they know what it's going to cost. And it's not based on a cookie cutter that I just pulled out of my pocket somewhere.
Okay. What if you're doing something, I'll just pick something here. Like, let's say, not like SEO, which is, I understand that pretty well, I think. And I get what you're saying on that, but let's say reputation management, that's something that's all them all the time, has nothing to do with their competition. And you can say, okay, here's where your reputation management stuff is falling through the cracks.
I never honestly sold reputation management. I had a lot of people that asked me for it, and I never took on a job for reputation management. One of the reasons is it's a losing battle. It's not a battle that you can win. If you've got people saying bad stuff about you, you need to think about why that is, and you might want to fix that. But you going and fighting a negative, you're letting the positive slide out from under you. Why not just focus on what you're good at, move forward? You know, you can't get rid of that stuff, and it's extremely expensive. For me to SEO your site to get you top positions in something that's going to make a difference in your business might be a factor of 1x. For me to move 10 slots out of the way and get rid of them would be like a 20x factor of the 1x. So
I'm not exactly following what you're talking about.
It would cost,
or whatever.
I would charge you 20 times the price to do reputation management as I would just to do optimization for keywords that could make a difference for you. Because it's 20 times the work, and it's not 20 times the reward. I can assure you it's not 20 times the reward.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I was trying to think in terms of if you're doing an analysis of them of some kind, how you would, because if you did an analysis of them of some portion of their business, found some holes, and you just pointed out to them until they realize that you describe to them the difficulty of solving that problem until they say, holy moly, I need somebody to do that for me because I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah,
that sounds like what you're talking about doing is wherever their problem is that you tell them how to solve that problem until they get to the point of overwhelm and ask you to do it for them.
Yeah. See, the thing about consultative selling is they're coming to me because they have a problem or a conceived problem, right? And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to objectively give them solutions. Well, I'm going to tell them your best solution here in reputation management isn't to fight a battle you can't win and spend a ton of money doing it and not move forward. My advice to you is to move forward, spend that money making money and forget about that stuff.
How are they going to make money though if they let's just say that they don't have any reputation online, they don't have any reviews or anything like that, and wasn't there a benefit to teaching them how to get reviews and do that so that because if they're ranking at the top, but they go to the people, when people research them they've got no reviews. Let's just say they don't have bad reviews, but they don't have any reviews. They're going to go to a competition. At least, you know, like 80-90% of all people want to see a review or two before they buy from somebody.
Well,
Isn't
how many reviews are you going to get if you don't have any customers? Your job should be to acquire customers. Reviews will come. Reviews are as simple as asking a satisfied customer. Like in business, the highest and best use of my time is not to try and create something that's not there for bogus, phony reasons. The highest and best use of my time is to acquire new customers that I can serve for a lifetime. Once I have done that, once my goal is achieved, now all I have to do is just reach out to that group and say, hey, can you guys do me a favor? Go over to my page and put in a testimonial for me. And now I've got all I want. And how expensive was that? How easy was that?
okay? So
They're focused on the wrong thing. And you as a consultant are there to shine the light on the road ahead, not get them to run back into the dark and see how badly they can get beat up in the process. I mean,
okay, yeah. So it's all basically customer acquisition focused, and you're saying that the reputation management is all basically almost a secondary thing that's the tail that follows the dog, as opposed to trying to wag the dog with the tail kind of a thing. That's what you're saying, right?
yeah, I mean, it has a lot to do with common sense. If you're going to spend money on something as a business owner, when you put money out, money has to come back, right? Well, if you put a 20x factor out that's back in the weeds, that's not focused on getting you any customers, how much money is going to come back out of that? That's a vanity play. That's you having your feelings hurt because somebody said something bad about you. They need to get over it and move forward. It's like a lifeguard. You help the ones you can and let the sea take the rest. It's the only way you're going to survive.
Well, one of the things that I was pondering, because I'm looking at the SEO and things, all the things in that category, redoing a website, all those things are doing things that require performance, as opposed to like a dentist. You go to a dentist and he's going to drill your teeth, but he may or may not be a decent dentist. His root canal may or may not take. He's going to get paid anyway. And I don't see very much in the online business that is basic, that is, I guess, activity based paid. You're getting paid for doing activities as opposed to having to produce results in order to get paid. Do you understand which one of them is pulling the rope and one of them is pushing the rope? The SEO is pushing the rope. If you're a dentist filling teeth, he's pulling the rope because he gets paid whether or not his work really worked or not.
Yeah, he's commodity based.
So where are those activities in the online world where the fellow we were talking to that was on first, who's setting up the LLCs and the companies, he gets paid. All he has to do is set up the LLC. Whether or not they make the LLC work is up to them, but he gets paid for doing that work.
Correct. Well, SEO is the same thing. In SEO, you're paying for getting search results. That doesn't mean that I can guarantee people are going to click on your site and buy your stuff. That's up to you to have quality product and have your messaging right and all that. Now, if I'm doing the job of marketing, then that becomes my job. But you want to make sure that you're offering services that you can and want to provide.
Yeah, because if you get people ranking and they're still not converting or making sales, then somehow that's your fault, because even though you got ranking, they aren't making sales or making conversions, and you have to make sure. That's another reason why I won't take on a lot of SEO clients.
I won't take them on. If I look at their site and I don't think they can convert, I'm going to say, like, what's the point here? And what I'll do is I'll say, why don't you spend as much as you would spend on the SEO for 1 month and go do some pay-per-click advertising where you're physically just buying the traffic instantly and you can test it in real time. And if you get enough customers off that, then it's going to make sense for us to do the SEO work.
Okay, so pay-per-click and selling pay-per-click is one of the things where you're saying, okay, we're going to have people show up and you're going to track how much shows up and what it's going to cost and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you'll know instantly. You'll know the first month. You'll say, okay, I bought this amount of people that came onto my site and nobody bought. That's a pretty good indicator for me that SEO is not going to work. SEO, what I tell people about SEO is like a magnifying glass. In fact, any kind of traffic, whether it's SEO or paid traffic or whatever, it's like a magnifying glass. If you've got problems, it's going to magnify them. If you have a good sales process and you make money, it's going to magnify that. I don't want to magnify problems. I want to find small problems, fix them, and then magnify the results. That's why I would tell them to do a pay-per-click program. Make sure those keywords convert, make sure their content converts, and then let's move forward if SEO makes sense. And at that point, don't stop doing the pay-per-click. It's another revenue source for you. It's another traffic channel, and it's working.
Okay, so
use that money. Like, here's how you could tell them, hey, do you want your SEO to be paid for you? Figure out the pay-per-click and let the profit off the pay-per-click pay for your SEO.
okay,
Now you've got
Well-
2 traffic channels. You're acquiring customers at double the rate, and then you're paying for it, out of your own results.
okay, because I guess I was sort of I thought one of your big things was SEO. And so if you're selling very little of the SEO, it's primarily what pop and site pop and the ACT program, and those are your two products.
I have a ton of customers from, the last 30 years online or 25 years, however long I've been online. A lot of my customers, once they come to me, they just stay. I typically lose them when they die, when they pass away. And it happens more often than I'd like to think.
So the majority is the $27 a month call people then.
No, I've got SEO clients that have been paying for years. I've got clients that are on all kinds of different programs with us. Some of them are on consultation contracts. I've got businesses that pay me $1,000 an hour to consult with them. So I've got so many different revenue streams and affiliates. I make more from my affiliate money than I do from my own programs.
Selling other people's programs?
Yeah. Like for instance, you guys are in here. This is $29.97 a month, I think. Right? If I put somebody on Kartra's paying me $40 a month. On the lowest Kartra package, I make $40 a month as an affiliate. So think about that. You might need me on here for as long as you need me. I've got some people that they keep on this thing for years and years. They might only come on once or twice a year, but it's worth it to them to have me there as that cheap insurance. But even if they drop out of here, if I've helped them set up their business on Kartra and Kartra's helping their business, they're going to keep that forever. That $40 a month is going to come in forever. If I help them by putting their website together and then I move them over to our hosting platform, I'm making $20 a month on the hosting, generally forever, because I'm always there for them. When they need something else, they ask me, I help them there. I'm not just there to sell them stuff. I'm there to make sure that they are getting what they want. They're successful. So that's how I've built my entire business. My entire business for a very long time has been built in the mode of just seeing how many people I can help. I don't have to make much money off each one of them. Some of them I do, a lot of them I don't. You know, it was that the guy I learned that concept from, he was an older guy, probably in his 80s. And this was when I was younger, and I was all about the big customer. I was all about, you know, the big money. I only want a couple of customers and they're going to pay me a boatload of money and I don't have to deal with anybody. Just those couple customers. And he told me, he goes, that's a dangerous game. And I said, really? Why? It sounds pretty good to me. And he said, well, you think of your income streams as appendages. And I'm like, I didn't know what he was talking about. I'm like, appendages? What kind of appendages? And he said, like the appendages of your body. He said, if you've only got two, that's like your arms or your legs. He said, if you lose one, when you wake up in the morning, your life's going to be different. He says, if you've got 10, that's like fingers. He said, if you lose a finger, that's going to hurt. But when you wake up tomorrow, yeah, everything's going to be fine. He said, if it's like hairs on your head, you got thousands of them, you lose one, you don't even feel it. And I got what he said right instantly. I'm like, oh shit, I want a lot of people. I want a lot of people giving me a little bit of money. So I became very valuable to a lot of people for a very small amount of money. And it's done really well for me. I still have a couple of the big guys. They're great. They're just like free floating money on top. But if I lose them, it's not going to kill me. It's not, I'm not even probably even going to feel it. Even the big ones now, if I lose them, it doesn't affect me. So that's a pretty good place to be. And I know it's like, you know, you look at that as an overnight success, right? Well, it was a 30-year overnight success. I didn't just get here. I've changed many times along the road, but ultimately looking back, that's the gold that I've gotten out of all of this. As if the more people that you can help, the better your life will become.
John, this is not something that you say every week, and this has been incredibly valuable.
It's just a little insight into, you know, who I am and how I work and you know, what I've done and where it came from.
Yeah, this
Super,
was
John.
great, John.
Go to Allie. I think she's had her hand up. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, John.
Well, we could, maybe this is great for next week, Johnny. I wanted to ask, I loved how you brought up preparing for Black Friday, and I've had my head in that buzz. So I wanted to ask how you recommend preparing for Black Friday, and it might be something everybody's interested in. I'm trying to, there's so many pieces that, you know, I'm trying to sell my art, and I love the piece where you said maybe you're your own avatar. I've just been racking my brain on how I could possibly create residual income like you, doing what I do. So that's one of my things. And then that's my biggest question was, how do I prepare for Black Friday, or any of us? What
Sure.
does that look like from, you know, what?
Black Friday, don't think that Black Friday has to be about just making money. Black Friday could be about a lead generation. It could be about just giving something away of value to build your mailing list. And then later on, you can figure out how to monetize your mailing list. So it doesn't have to be about a sale, or it doesn't have to be about anything. It's your creative way to advance your business forward. If you need more leads, then just think about it as a simple lead generator. What can you give away that people would want? That is your audience. I mean, you've got to be specific to your audience, your target market. and give them something to get them on your list. Yeah, that's the simplest way. If you've actually got a product or service in place to sell, then what you can do is you can just do, a deep discount to people that have not purchased yet. Because if they haven't purchased yet, maybe it was the price. A lot of times they didn't do it just because of the price. And a lot of times people get caught up in the Black Friday thing and they'll buy things on a whim. They'll just, because it's discounted. There's a certain number of people, there's a percentage of our galaxy that will buy things that are on discount just because they're on discount. My mother was one. Oh my God, she would buy anything if there was a coupon.
Yeah, we had the same mother.
We had cupboards full of shit that we would never use because they were sold on a coupon. When after she had passed away, I was giving stuff away for almost a year that she had collected from coupon purchases over 40 years.
Mm.
Stuff she knew she would never use, but it was a coupon purchase.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know what to do with that. I have to think about how I could discount something. Maybe I could do a class or something, but because I don't discount my artwork at all, ever.
Yeah.
It's just I don't roll like that with my originals. And maybe I could do it with prints or something.
Yeah, why not make a print? Make a giclée or something and sell them just above cost, just to acquire a customer.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So anything, like if you've got people that love your stuff and maybe it's too expensive to buy the original, sell them a giclée. Go back and hand touch it. You can get a giclée and you can go and highlight it with white paint to make it pop.
Yes, that's what Thomas Kincaid did.
Mm-hmm.
He did limited editions and
yeah,
had teams of people highlighting them, and then he'd put one dot on it and was officially,
exactly.
He was a great marketer. Anyway, yeah, that's a good reminder.
Yeah.
For me.
All right. Well,
thank you.
We've almost chewed up 2 hours on today's call.
I know. Yes. Good to see everybody.
All right.
Oh, hey, I wanted to ask you for Woody. He's home now from Europe. Just a quick question. Would somebody like, what's the gal's name that had the stroke? Sabine.
Oh, Sabine. Yeah.
Would they be good in terms of creating possibly a joint partnership?
Possibly. Yeah. She's new to the ACT program, so she might be up for that.
Yeah, I forgot to ask her number, but I thought of, just because it's the whole world that Woody's trying to serve,
Mm-hmm.
with altabilities. And John, thank you for responding to me. I'm sorry, I want to ask you again, which AI program is the one that you could scrape a whole subject and it rewrites it for you so that it's not plagiarized, it's all new?
Yeah, that one is called Quillbot.
Quillbot. Okay, thank you. I went back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's the one. It'll rewrite a whole book for you if you want.
How do you spell it?
Quill is Quillbot.
Thank you.
Sure. It's a pretty cool program.
All right, thank you. That was my big ask, because I think we have to do that so that we can get you the content that we need to fill in that whole new website for him.
Okay, cool.
Because, and everybody, he's back, but now Monique's out, and then I'm going out next week. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, thank you. This was fabulous. And I really appreciate you. It's good to see everybody.
All right. Well, thank you all for being on here, and we will talk to you all next week.
Bye, Laurel.
Bye bye.